What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We are on to round 6, I guess we're going to call this. It's going to be the final preview of the Six Nations. It's the replay game that we haven't had to have yet. So it's going to be France versus Scotland. Of course, I'll play as the lower rated team, which in this case happens to be Scotland. There's a lot to talk about for this final round. Let's get into it. Alrighty, Adam Hastings is going to get us kicked off and underway. So, France versus Scotland. It's finally happening. Of course, this game was meant to happen in round 3. However, COVID cases in the France team meant they couldn't turn up for the game. There was a bit of a dispute about whether they should have had the loss by default, and Scotland had scored the 28-0 or whatever it was for like they had in the Autumn Nations Cup when Fiji couldn't turn up to a game. They've managed to rearrange it. It's coming out. It's going to be on Friday rather than a weekend, which is nice. And as far as I'm aware, both teams have got all their players pretty much ready for it. There was a big choice about whether Scotland were going to be able to even have some of their players back, but I do believe they've managed to get them all back. So let's start off, seeing as we're playing as Scotland, let's talk about Scotland. So Scotland decimated Italy last week. It was really quite surprising. I thought it was probably the strongest Italy team they've had in the tournament so far, and I think it was maybe the one they've lost the most by. I don't think the yellow cards going in that game really helped them out a lot. Duhan van der Merwe absolutely destroying them. Hugh Jones had a really good game. I thought Scotland looked very, very impressive. They seem to just be having a lot of fun with that game for an awful lot of it. So they will be coming on to face France. So they're going to have to rebolster the team a little bit, put on that big man A team that they like to do. So let's check out the team. In the front row, Rory Sutherland, George Turner re-enters the team at hooker, and Xander Fagerson. So they're back up really now to their full first choice front row. So it's going to be nice to see those three playing well together. We didn't really get to see a lot of George Turner last week because they gave Dave Cherry a game. Didn't manage to get his hat-trick, bit of a shame for him. No comebacks for the lock department. Sam Skinner and Grant Gilchrist will continue in the 4-5 position, so doesn't look like we're going to get either of the Gray brothers back anytime soon in that starting lineup. Hopefully they will be able to return not too long into the future. I'm a big fan of both the Gray brothers. Moving into the back row, Jamie Ritchie, Hamish Watson, Matt Fagerson. One of the most dominant back threes you can have in World Rugby. Jamie Ritchie is absolutely brilliant. Hamish Watson's been making my team of the week most weeks. I just think he's a phenomenal player, and Matt Fagerson absolutely killing people when he gets that little charge on the go from the backfield. So 1-8 looking solid. I've got a feeling this game might come down to just speed and power. I'm not sure how much the forwards will be used. This could just be a bit of crash ball between the forwards and letting the backs run loose when they get into the game a little bit. Moving on to the backs, Ali Price will retain that 9 position. He's going to take back over from Scott Steele. I think Ali Price is definitely the first choice scrum half. I really, really like Ali Price, and I thought he's had a good tournament so far. So glad to see him back in at scrum half. Finn Russell comes back in at number 10. He did have his little injury, so he was out for a little while. I believe he missed the Scotland-Italy game by something like 2 hours from passing his concussion test. So he wasn't able to get in, so Stuart Hogg filled in last minute. So nice to see Finn Russell back. Definitely going to bolster that half-back partnership. And a couple of changes in the back row. Duhan van der Merwe still going to retain that left wing. Thought he did really well against Italy. Just needs to have more ball. In so many games, I just don't feel Scotland are giving him enough time on the ball. And we got to see the damage he can have, even from his own half. He does so well. Just needs that room to work. Hopefully he'll get it this game. Sam Johnson staying at that number 12. He had a good game last week. I would have liked to see just that little extra pass. So many times he could have just given the ball and chose not to. Instead took it into ground. Not the correct call, but I am liking Sam Johnson. It's nice to see him back in that inside centre channel. Outside centre, big change here. Chris Harris coming back on over Hugh Jones. Maybe they're going for a size and weight advantage going against France rather than putting in Hugh Jones. I thought he was good. Definitely a couple of penalties Hugh Jones didn't need to give away, but in terms of running play, you know how big Hugh Jones is going to be. Maybe they're hoping Chris Harris can have the power game for the first half, and then second half Hugh Jones will come on and find those gaps and make the distance that we know he can do when the France players begin to tire a little bit in that second half. Darcy Graham going to retain the right wing shirt. Thought he had a good game. He took a big knock early on in that game, and I did think he was going to go off about 10 minutes in, but stayed on for the whole thing, doing really, really well. Very impressive from Darcy Graham. And finally, Stuart Hogg is going to go in at fullback over Sean Maitland, which is a big call. Sean Maitland not even on the bench, actually, looking at it. So Sean Maitland didn't have a bad game at all against Italy, but I think he wasn't too happy to go off when Stuart Hogg, of course, moved to fullback. So You know, it's a bit of a shame for him, but hopefully he will manage to come back into the team in the future. But 1 to 15, certainly looking strong. They're going to need to be. We know how dominant that France team was. They managed to scoop that win against Wales that no one saw coming, really. I thought it was going to be really close. And even in that 80th minute, I still thought Wales were going to win that game. But France managing to do well right at the end, just stealing that game away. We'll quickly check out the replacements before we move on to talking about the France team. Of course, David Cherry's going to be in there. He had a good game last week, so they're always going to want him coming on as a replacement. Ollie Kebbell at 17 and Simon Bergen at 18. So front three replacements very, very strong. We know how good the France scrum has been. Even when they were a man down, they were still looking good against the Wales scrum. So they're going to need big boys in that front row, and they definitely have them there. Alex Craig at 19, Nick Haining at 20. So again, big replacements coming on. Nick Haining had an alright game. I would like to see a little bit more from him. It's just trying to fit him into the team, really. I imagine, again, he'll come on for Jamie Ritchie somewhere in that second half. Scott Steele going to retain on the bench at 21. He had a good game. We don't get to see a lot of Scott Steele because of just how good Ali Price is. But he's definitely doing well in that Italy game. So he'll be looking for a little bit more time. Got himself a try, actually, in that Italy game, didn't he? So fair play to him. 22, a big name in the replacement fly half. Adam Hastings back in the team. I actually didn't know this was happening. That's a nice thing to come up there. I didn't get to see an awful lot of Jaco van der Walt, as I'm sure we probably wanted to in this tournament, but Adam Hastings being back in the team along with Finn Russell, that's a tough competition to get your fly half shirt in there. So Adam Hastings will come on. Hopefully he's still in as good form as when he left. There's every chance that he could struggle. First game back, it's a big game back, so best of luck to him. And Hugh Jones finishing it off in the 23 shirt, who I'm sure will come on for Chris Harris later in that second half when there's a bit of space beginning to open up. But overall, 1 to 23, really, really good. It's a very fast team. It's a very powerful team. So I can imagine a lot of the first half will be sort of similar to that Wales-France game, playing it through the forwards, go through the phases, make a bit of ground, and then the second half is where we'll just try and see those backs begin to unleash a little bit, find the room, find the gaps. I think this is going to be a great game. I'm actually quite happy this is going to be the last game of the tournament because I think this can end on a real big high. But of course, Scotland have got to overcome a very tough adversary, so let's talk about the people they will be up against. It's the France team. And France will certainly be working hard in this game. I did try and have a quick look at what they need to actually accomplish in this game. So France, in order to win the Six Nations, somehow still in with a chance. I still can't believe they did that to Wales. But the chance for them to win the Six Nations involves they need to beat Scotland. They need to score 4 tries to get the bonus point minimum. And then they also need to have a points difference at the end of the game of positive 21. Now, beating Scotland by 21 is a big ask, given how strong the Scotland team is currently. So I actually don't know whether they might do well in that, but that 21 points could be the killer for them. The other alternative is to manage to get a 20 points difference and score 6 tries, and I believe they split the win with Wales for the Six Nations. It's all very complicated in terms of points, but the team will definitely be looking to do big work. They managed to do well against that Wales team. They got a little bit lucky, you could argue, with how eagle-eyed Luke Pearce was at the end. For anyone who is interested, I am going to be doing a bit of a breakdown review for the Wales-France game, so if you're into that sort of thing or you've seen the ones already on the channel, make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with when that video comes out. But the France team going into this, of course, won't have too many changes. So, looking at the front row, Cyril Baille, Julian Marchand and Haas, of course, all three doing very well. Surprised Haas is going to have to keep his composure a little bit more, try and avoid the yellow cards, but arguably stopped a try that could have sealed out the game. So, game management can come really important. Some big changes at the locks. Leroux back in the team. Nice to see him coming back in at number 4. And of course, with Willemse out with the red card ban, Rebage will come in, who is not a bad replacement. We got to see him come on last week for Taufai Fenir, and he was really good. So in all honesty, that's not a terrible swap. Jalanche will come on at the number 6 shirt rather than Dylan Chetin this round. Olivon and Aldrit will finish off that 6-7-8 partnership. They really like that back three. They seem to swap that number 6 in the flanker position an awful lot. I don't really know why they swap it so much. They're definitely trying to find out who their top number 6 is. But 1 to 8 looking strong, as it's always going to with this France team. Like I said, the scrum they had against Wales was very, very good. Sure, they'll want to keep that work going on. Looking at the backs, Dupont will be looking to do good work. Of course, he got himself a try. He dodged about 1,000 tackles. He was really instrumental in trying to keep France within that score limit in order to catch up to Wales. Ntamack will be going in at fly half for his first start of the tournament. Obviously, Jalibert won't have managed to recover from his injury. He took an elbow to the chin, so I don't know whether that's going to be a concussion failure. He didn't come back on after his HIA in that game. So I think Ntamack's not a bad shout. The depth in this France team is just huge. Ficou moves to the left wing rather than Teddy Thomas, which is a big call. We didn't get to see a lot of Teddy Thomas in that Wales game. Again, another player that needs a bit of room to work, and when he does, you can be so good. But Ficou, very good player to have on the left wing. Arthur Vincent moves to the inside centre, who is a damaging player when he gets going on him. So again, the depth is just tremendous actually in this France team. Even the swaps they make seem to make their team look just as strong. Vakatawa in the outside centre, very good player. We got to see him doing a lot of good tackling and good ball carrying in that game, so fair play to him. It's nice to see Vakatawa back in this team, retaining that outside centre shirt. Damien Penaud will move to the right wing. I believe he was left wing against Wales, but he sort of played more on the right wing anyway. But again, very good on the high ball. We know how good he is at managing to secure that ball back for them. And finally, in the fullback position, Bryce Dulin, the best fullback for me of the round last week. He's not too good on the defensive high balls. It'll be interesting to see how Scotland managed to utilise that weakness in his game. But of course, we get to see how big he is in attacking, managing to dodge 1 million players, and of course getting the winning try. So 1 to 15 looking very, very good. They're going here with an aim and a target for this game, and I think that's the team you want to start off to do it. Finishing off, looking at the finishers, Camille Chat, who had a great game as soon as he came on. Actually, Gross and Antonio will finish off that front three. It's just a weight front three, I think, that comes on there. I feel very sorry if you're tired in the 50 minutes and then you have to face that in the front row. There's a big set of players there. Taufai Fenir actually still retaining there. I didn't actually know he'd come back from that. I thought the injury might have rendered him out of this game. Didn't know he was going to be in the team. Going to have that 19 shirt. I imagine will come on for Leroux, maybe in that second half. Interesting to see. Dylan Chetin will, of course, come on for Jalanche in that second half. Baptiste Sarin, who's actually very, very good when he came on. Dupont is such a hard name to live up to, but he's managing to do a good job of it. Bouthier will come in at 22, obviously with no Jalibert. So I believe Bouthier can do fullback or fly half. A couple of French subscribers may be able to drop down in the comments whether I'm correct with that one. And of course, Teddy Thomas, you can't leave him out of the team, but not getting the start. It's a big, big call. I thought maybe even you could do a swap here and have Teddy Thomas start on the left wing and Ficou on the bench, and that way he could come on at wing or centre, but that's not what they've gone with. So in terms of prediction, what do we think will happen in this game? Both teams fired up for this one. Both teams coming off the back of a big win. So I think this could go realistically. I think both teams could actually take this one. France have got an awful lot to do in order to take this championship, and I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to do enough against a strong Scotland team. If Scotland are having a bad year, this could maybe be a good shot for them. My prediction for the game, I've got a feeling France are going to win this. They may even get the 4 tries. They may even get the 4 tries that they need to get that bonus point. But getting 21 points positive difference against Scotland is going to be so difficult, and I just don't see them managing to do it. So for me, my prediction is going to be France to win by 8, I think, is going to be the call. I'm going to say it. I think they'll get the win. I actually think they might get the 4 tries. I think both teams might get 4 tries in this game. I feel it could just explode into running rugby. France won't want to spend an awful lot of time just going through the phases. They'll want running, broken play, and hopefully it can make the most of it. So I think that's how it's going to go. But what do you guys think? Make sure you drop it down in the comments who you think's going to win, who you're supporting, how you think the game's going to go. It's going to be a fantastic end. And me as a Wales supporter, I'll be sat there wearing my tartan and Scotland jerseys, cheering on Scotland. I hope you all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.